Hello there. I'm Helen Sattler, your Destiny Helper, coming to you once again. I want to appreciate the emails that you've been getting me. I always want to acknowledge them. Thank you so much for your loyalty and your faithfulness. I am so happy to be with you once again. I want to talk about something that is a point of interest, and many of you have written me letters and asked questions about this. It's the genetic coding on the mind after being with a narcissist. Why doesn't my mind bounce back readily? Why does it take so long? You know, the brain, when you're dealing with the DNA has a transcription or a code. And this code goes into translation. And as this code goes into translation, the brain begin to tabulate on it permanent transcriptions that flows through your life. And when it flows through your life, it builds pattern upon patterns upon patterns, and it becomes your everyday way of living. Even if people disapprove of it, it is a pattern for you. It is a coding for you. You got to remember the nature of a narcissist. The nature of a narcissist, they are concerned about themselves. Everything is about them. If they give anything to you, it's because they give it to you to get to them. And whatever they give, there's always a bottom line with the narcissist. There's always a bottom line. That's why sometimes you do good and it feel like it's useless. It feel like it's worthless, and you wonder why am I doing good but I feel horrible. I don't feel fulfilled because it's selfishness. When you do things for people and they have genuine appreciation, it fulfills you. It makes you feel good. Well, when the narcissist asks for anything, or if the narcissist gift you with anything, do anything for you, there's always a bottom line. And if you've been with the narcissist any amount of time, you are looking for that bottom line. What does he or what does she really want? Because you know they're not going to give anything without something being given back to them. When a narcissist get with you, you've already been trained and tried through the love bombing phase. That's when they're trying your strength. That's when they're trying your weakness. That's when they're trying your endurance. That's when the transcription, the coding is being released to the mind. And they train you so when they get with you, during the love bombing, they've already trained your mind how to reject the positive things of yourself. And that's why you're gaslighted so, because they don't want you to know your strength. And the moment you start to acknowledge your strength, the transcription start to be written in your brain. And what they use is, how can I say, repetitive means. What they will do is say something over and over and over and over and over again. They are very intentional on what they do. You think it's just a happenstance, but a narcissist plan well. They are very good planners. They plan your time, they plan your moment, they plan you being at a place, they plan you leaving a place, they plan your disappointment. They say they're going to be at a place and they don't be there, then they tell you at first something happened, but you start gradually catching on that they're lying. And when you catch on that they're lying, now they need to do something else because they know that the mask is falling off. You're educating yourself. And when you're educating yourself, usually what happens, you get at a point of frustration where you're determining whether you're going to continue this relationship or you're going to make your exit right here. When that happens, the gifts start to come. They even compliment you. Haven't complimented you for 6 months. And now all of a sudden the compliments come. They acknowledge you. You got to remember, you have some narcissists that are very skilled at what they do. They are masters at what they do. They utilize this like an art. They utilize this like an art. They are not just doing anything. They are doing this what they qualify for. You got to remember, some narcissists have had hundreds of relationships. I thought about Magic Johnson when he said he had slept with thousands of women. How can that be? Well, when you could do a lot of things if time allow you. A narcissist has been around a while, has been with a few women or a few men, and what happens is each one of those specimens releases a transcription on the mind of the narcissist. The narcissist determine what they're going to keep for the next person. And then it goes from a transcription to a translation. And what happened is it goes from a transcription where it is the pattern, and it goes from the pattern to an activating system. This is when they are operating and you are trying out all the things that you did during love bombing. You take them to the store. You teach them how to hold back. You teach them not to spend a lot of money unless it's on you. And then we lavish it. Then you teach them how to be disappointed, gravely disappointed. Why? Because now they're going to get apologetic. And when they get apologetic, they're going to have low self-esteem. Then you get accusational. In accusational, the transcription says, let's be accusational. The translation is now you are going to blame yourself. It's my fault. And then you go to pity mode. You go to shameful mode. They take advantage when you do that to yourself and you go to the shameful mode. And where you know you're not seeing them as predatory at this time because they've turned everything toward you. And when they lie, they lie on purpose. And then they will let you catch them in a lie just to see, will you ignore it? Will you forgive them? Or will you act like it doesn't exist? And a lot of times people act like it doesn't exist. They act like the lie didn't take place, and so they don't deal with it. Okay, well, once the narcissist know that you're a person, you will hide things, you will ignore things, you will act as if it's not there, you will act very irresponsibly to something that you need to handle. Instead of handling it, you will sweep it under the rug. The narcissist knows, and they transcribe that. It's etched on your brain. It's etched in your time. And many of you who have narcissistic parents, and these narcissistic parents are very, 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 how can I say, they're very competitive. They're very cruel, because even though you're the child, it's still about the parents. So they have given you a coding that would release a frequency or a beacon to draw the narcissist in your life. And once you draw the narcissist in your life, that narcissist start getting the transcription of the behavior mode that they want in your life, because they know they're going to cheat. They know they're not going to be faithful. They know they're going to grow weary. They know they're going to fight. They know this narcissist, sometimes they feel bad about themselves because they're so empty, and they see themselves and don't want to do anything about it because it's always somebody else's fault. But they feel empty. They feel restless. That's why they have so many specimens, so many supply, because they don't feel fulfilled, and they don't want you to feel fulfilled. Remember, our mom used to say, misery loves company. Well, misery wants you to sit on the couch and entertain them and be entertained with more misery, because misery cannot stand happiness, because once you get happiness in the environment, it changes the environment. Then misery can't stay there. Misery like to be sad and slumberish. Why? Because once you get happy and joyful, it's the wrong environment. Misery cannot stand there. Slumberish cannot stand there. Depression cannot stand in that environment when everybody else is happy. So what the enemy does, he uses the narcissist to bring you into an environment. Environments produce pressure. it produces conformance. You feel the pressure to conform because you don't want to be the outcast. You don't want to be the one that's different. So he makes sure he take you to a place where he knows, because he already know your reaction. That's a transcription. Now he's translating. He's taking you to the action. He's taking you to activation. He's getting you to do things, say things, be things. He's getting you to react. He don't want you to respond. She don't want you to respond. She wants you to react, because when you react, you're not thinking. You are just reacting. And a lot of times when you don't think and you just react, it's going to cause some problem. It's going to cause division. It's going to make you look bad, because people will say, I didn't know that they can act like that. I didn't know they can ever be like that. But what happens is, no, you didn't know that. But you didn't know that your DNA strand was being coded. The DNA of your mind, the DNA of your habits, the DNA of your desires. Sometimes they come in and they try to transcribe your DNA of your desire. So what the narcissist does is, in order to train your desire, they bring things to you. They may want a certain food, and you notice that for a whole week, that's all they wanted. That was not for the narcissist. That was to train your desire. So now you are desiring that food. You enjoyed that food. And then the next week, the narcissist will ask you something about that food. Transcription. It is etched on your mind. You want that food, and then you just all of a sudden, the second week, you ask for that food. You got a palate for that food. Well, the week before, when you had a palate for that food, the narcissist gave it to you every single time, and it seemed to make him happy. It seemed to make her happy. It seemed to thrill her or him. It seemed to just cause them to be elated. Well, the second week, you mention the food, you don't get the food. They're angry that you even asked for the food. Transcription. They're writing the code of your mind. They're changing your desires. And then when they change your desire, they move on to the next thing. Now they're moving on to the way you think, the way you process, how you handle things. And so they produce a scenario, and they watch you operate in that scenario. They watch you fear of losing them. A phone call happened. They look at the phone and they say, what do she want? What do he want? Why they calling me? How did they get my number? And then you feel now, how did they get their number? And then they utilize that as a threat zone. Why is this person calling me? First, they seem unhappy with the call. Then all of a sudden, you're not paying them any attention. And because you're not paying them any attention, now they're saying, well, maybe I should accept the call. Maybe they're the only one that loves me. Maybe I finally get the recognition I deserve. Remember, you are being coded. The transcription is consecutive behavior, consecutive thinking, consecutive emotions, consecutive movement. They got to get you in a pattern. They got to get you in a routine. And when they get you in a routine, they get your life in a habit. And when they get your life in a habit, they keep you doing that habit and doing that habit. Because the more you do the habit, the harder it is to break. And the harder it is to break, now you are starting to live that habit, becoming one with that habit. You're taking ownership of that habit. You're not thinking that that habit was instituted into your life through transcription, through an introduction, through a continuation, through a consistency, and now it's routine. And then when it gets automatic, that narcissist will back off when it gets automatic, and they train another area. Let's train your sexual desire. He trained your sexual desire, and whatever you want, you get it from the narcissist. They take you to the height, because I mean, you don't have so many women, men, you're skilled. So you go to the height, and you're climatic. And when you're climatic, he pulls you down easy for a time. Remember, he's transcribing to translate. Translate is the language of the thing. And transcription is when he's writing the code in your life, in your mind. And then when they get a sexual high for a minute, they even let you come to them. They even let you, how can I say, be the initiator. And when you initiate, because narcissists really don't like you to have any control. So when you initiate there, they don't want it. I don't want to be touched. I'm tired. And then now they just giving you everything you want. Even if you just tap them, it's on. I mean, it is elation. It's 4th of July for every single day. And once they get you trained, and if you notice, when you are being transcribed and they're transcribing and edging things on your mind, the one thing the narcissist does, they're not going anywhere. They are just with you, just like when you was love bombing. They're just with you. They're training their vessel. When the narcissists start transcription and translation in their mind, you're long term. That narcissist will marry you just to make sure you stay in the house. They're not going to be committed to you. They're not going to be loyal to you. They're not going to love you because they can't. They're not going to be faithful to anything you do. They're not going to rejoice over nothing you have. That is only temporary because you are being coded. And so while he's writing the transcription, she's writing the transcription that on the corridors of your mind, they are right there. They come home from work. They seem happy to come home, but you know they're methodical. They're very methodical. They do this the same way. They do this the same time. They say this, they say this, and you know a continuum because you are being coded. You are being trained. And the reason it's so difficult to let them go is because you have to break that code. And many of you can't break that code. Why? Because you got a soul tie. You are tied into them with your soul, with your will, with your imagination, with your thoughts, you even dream about them. You're dreaming about them. You're thinking about them every single day. And when you read, you put the book down because now you need to meditate about them. And when you meditate about them, now you daydream about them. So everything is centered around this. And this is when the narcissists know that they're working. And they may ask you questions. Did you think of me today? How often did you think of me? Was I on your mind all day? Oh, you were on my mind all day. I couldn't hardly work thinking about you. And you say, you know, me too. I couldn't hardly work. It was hard for me to concentrate because I always thought of you. And you notice the phone call coming. Oh, baby, I love you. I'm thinking of you. I can smell that cologne that you wear all the time. I remember your voice in my ear in the heat of passion. All of this, the narcissist is saying, but the narcissist is transcribing. The Bible told us to be not conformed to the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That means transcribe your mind. Bring it to the point of translation. When you bring your mind to the point of translation, you are speaking a language and you are looking for a language. You are agreeing with a language. And when it's your language, you can incur and concur with that language. You can speak that language. You feel comfortable with that language. If you speak Chinese and someone's speaking Chinese, a version of the maybe Mandarin or whatever language that you're speaking, you find somebody, you feel comfortable talking with them. You feel good talking with them. The narcissist is building a language. And what he does before he builds a barrier, he builds congruency. So you find it easy to talk to the narcissist. You find it good to talk to the narcissist. Y'all may lay down on the floor by the fireplace and you're laughing and talking and you are thinking, my God, I'm married to this. I'm dating this. This is the best thing I've ever had. I've never met an individual like this. I didn't even know I could have this. I didn't even know that it could be like this. God, you sent me the perfect woman. You sent me the perfect man. They love me. They all about me. No, you are being coded. You are being set up. You are being downloaded into. So when he goes to that computer of your mind and puts something in, he knows what you're going to pull up. And he knows you're going to pull it up because he need long-term fuel. Long-term fuel is to make it so good that when you leave, you can come back. You don't have to stay. They take you back no matter how many times you leave. no matter how many times you hoover, because the coding is transcribed on the mind, and they have not broken that code. So that code works every time. It's the combination to your life. They got the combination. They can get in your safe. They can get in your sacred places. They can get into those hardcore places. They can do it every single time because they have the coding, and your DNA strand start transcribing. And when your DNA start transcribing, it transcribe and translate to your RA. And when your RA picks this up, the translation becomes the language. It becomes the language into your amino acids, your protein. It becomes your body language. It becomes everything that codes you. That's why some person may have osteoporosis while another person doesn't. And then some person have diabetes while another person doesn't. Another person have migraines while another person doesn't. Another person have asthma while another person don't, because the transcription has converted over into translation, and the translation start the copier. Now they're copying direct sales, exact sales, and your life is direct and exact. And not only is the narcissist methodical, but you find yourself methodical. But he's going to cause you an interruption because he don't want you to be two together. So he comes in, and this is the trauma bonding. This is the trauma because he hadn't caused trauma yet. And then the people's telling you what they see, you don't see that. You see somebody you love and adore. You see the perfect person that you marry unto you like you in a fairy tale land. But in that fairy tale land is the haunted house. And he just haven't taken you to the back so you can see past those rides. You can see past the cotton candy. You can see past the elephant ears. It is so good. And as soon as you head back there, he rings a bell. And the bell is called time. Give me time, baby. Give me time with you. I want you. I love you. And you never make it behind in the back where the haunted house is. No, he has other plans.